Welcome everyone, welcome to my channel. Now today we're going to look at how to bait your opponent with 5 opening trap. Now with this opening trap, you are able to trick your opponent and can get the full point. Now starting with our first trap it's called Noha's arc trap. Basically it is with the black pieces and with the Italian game. So starting out with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, pawn d6, and now here comes d4. Now very important here that black should play here pawn to b5, because this is going to be our main move in this trap. And after bishop to b3, we will just kill the pawn with the knight. And after knight takes d4, pawn takes d4. Now this is the time where white can be bait. For an example, the best move and the important move to play, not to take the pawn with the queen, but to just simply play pawn to c3 and get the development. Instead, if white captures the pawn on d4, now we can show our trump card with pawn to c5. The bishop is going to trap the following c4 in our next move. But white got some ideas here. For example, white can try queen d5. This is the first trick, because if we now play c4, the queen can now capture our rook. So now what are you gonna play? Yes, we have to play bishop e6. Now it attacks the queen, and there is no other choice. White must surrender the bishop in a few moves. For example, the only continuation could have been queen c6 check, but what should you play? Yes, attacks the queen. Now after queen d5, so now the rook is being no longer protected, as the queen is now protecting the rook, and now we can finally push our pawn to c4, and the bishop is got trapped. Coming on to the next one is with the white pieces, and it's called legal trap. By the legal trick is so famous, like I think all of we are already familiar with this trap, but for those who don't know the legal trap, so the trap is for you. The legal trap is basically the same with the king's pawn opening, with Italian variation with bishop c4, pawn d6, and now we go with knight to c3. Now here the obvious black can be played with bishop to g4, pinning our knight, but we'll just try to kick back the bishop out from the square, and bishop goes to h5, which is the bad move. Because why not? Like bishop, why black is thinking like bishop h5, maintaining the spin. So what's wrong? Yes, here comes the brilliant move, and that is our trump move of this illegal trap, which is knight captures e5, sacrificing the queen. I mean, black would be so obsessed with this move, like what? Black is blundering the queen? Yes, black is not yet actually blundering, because if no bishop captures queen, it's following mating to announcement from white, which is starting with bishop takes f7, king a7. Can you guess the move? Yes, it's knight g5 with a beautiful checkmate. You can see over the board. The knight is beautifully blocking all the squares everywhere, and bishop is covering the e6 and the e8 square. Going back, but there is a little variation you should be careful with here. Instead of capturing the queen, black can also capture the knight. I'm telling that now what are you gonna do? We're gonna capture the bishop here. Queen takes bishop on h5. Now knight captures c4. As you can see, now black is up a piece, and white got 2 pieces. Now time to we can need to get the piece back, and that is, can you guess the move? Yes, it's queen b5 check, and finally we can take the piece back and can win the game in the end game, since we have already won one extra pawn. Coming to the next trap is with now black pieces, which is called elephant trap. Now don't get messy. Like, it's a funny name, I know, like elephant trap, but it's nothing related with the elephant, by the way. It's starting with d4, d5, c4. We can see on the queen's gambit, e6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5. Now this is the most common move in the modern variation of queen's gambit, declined. Now here comes the tricky move we should play here, that is knight b d7, offering the exchange on offering the pawn on d5 after takes, and white can think that I can capture the pawn because the knight is pinned as the bishop is aiming down over the queen. Guess what? This is the trap. If white think that white should capture the pawn and can have that material, but black is white is completely wrong. Now since, guess the move? Yes, we can capture the knight. Amazingly, once again you can sacrifice the queen, because after bishop captures queen, we can take out the queen back with this very important check with bishop b4. Now white has only one move, that is queen to d2, and I will take the queen. King captures and take back the final. The bishop won, and once again we ended up with one extra piece. So this is completely winning for black. Now our fourth trap is with our call, it's a Lascar trap, and this Lascar trap is being famous back in old days, but nowadays it's been really barely playing between the players, but it's very good to know about this opening trap. So it's against with pawn to d4, and black will replay back with pawn to d5. Pawn c4 you can see on the queen's gambit. Now we're gonna do with Albin counter gambit. This is called Albin counter gambit, by the way. And after d capture c5, and black will take the central control with pawn to d4. The idea behind this gambit is to just take away the c3 square, make sure the knight cannot come over here, and this d4 pawn is actually crunching these two important square, like making kind of uncomfortable to white. Now after d4, it is it's already kind of a normal move for white to play is pawn to e3 and trying to get rid of this annoying pawn. But now we can start our operations right now with bishop b4 check. Once again, in the opening trap, every single move with correct move order is required. Now with bishop b4 check, and of course the most obvious reply would be bishop to d2, because white will try to exchange the pieces as much as it can. Now after bishop d2, now we're gonna show our trump card. Guess what the next move? It is not bishop captures d2, by the way. Now we're going to sack our bishop with d captures c3 and bishop captures bishop. Now we can see the queen is being under. The queen can take the other queen, but we're gonna go with now not capturing. Instead, you can capture the pawn on f2. Now trying to deflect the king from this e1 square and try to take out the queen. Now the king has to maintain the protection of the queen, so the king has to go to e2 square. Now the next move, can you guess the move? Yes, it's not queen takes d1. Instead, we can play this beautiful under promotion to a knight and with the check. And after king to e1, we go queen h4 check. Henry's being, it's so scary looking for white here, and white is actually lost already. King to d2 and knight to c6, bishop c3, bishop g4 attacks the queen, bishop e2 trying to block it, and final move castle queenside, winning the queen. Importantly, after queen h4 check, if white tries g3 at this moment, we can go with queen e4 and poking down the king and the rook at the same time, and it's simply winning. Yeah, this is old famous trap. These days this is barely being played between the players, but it's a very good opening trap. Make sure you should remember all the opening move order. Now today's our final opening trap. It's called Rubinstein trap, which is with white pieces this time. And this one is against which you can see a queen's pawn opening with queen's gambit declined with traditional variation, we can say. After knight b7, pawn e3, bishop e7, knight c3, castle, and we can see the queen's gambit orthodox variation. Now after rook e8, the main line with queen c2, a6, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, bishop d3. So all these moves are very common and classical approach in the orthodox variation of queen's gambit declined. Now after bishop to d3, now here is one of the move that black can reply with the move like c6, and then we can simply go with castle king side. Now after castle king side, black can simply play here, which is one of the move in this opening main line, is try to simplify the position with knight to e4, trying to get rid of this dark square bishop. So here's comes the important move we should play to come up with this opening trap. And by the way, to implement this opening trap is to not to exchange this dark square bishop, but instead we try to preserve this bishop and moving back to the f4 square. Now importantly, it is very important for black here to not to play the inaccurate move other than everything is okay. So in this position for black, it could have been the best way to approach is knight d to f6, supporting the pawn, make way for the bishop out into the game. But instead, here black can make a terrible mistake with pawn to f5. And the reason behind it is like, okay, first of all, black would have think, okay, this f5 pawn gives me an additional support on the e4 pawn, and this is like acting like a stonewall variation. But guess what, this f5 will cost him some real material. So here, can you guess the next move why f5 was wrong? Yes, the move is knight captures d5. This is shocking sacrifice on d5. Now the thing is that after pawn takes knight, now white can enter with bishop c7. Now you can remember why white just moved the bishop back to f4, and this was one of the idea for white's that move. And after bishop c7, now we can see the queen is trapped, can't move anywhere as the bishop is supported by the queen, and black is lost. Yeah, I know this is a little bit a longer continuation, but until here on the knight e4 variation, it's often very common and frequently playing in the tournament. So knowing this opening trap is very grateful to you. So yeah, that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed some of this opening trap, and I hope that you might able to apply this kind of opening trap in your own game, and I'll catch up with you on next another video. Thank you so much and goodbye.